They call this the Orchid, I believe, on Dan Kung's site. Really digging this. So I'm gonna go, there's lots of mosquitoes out here. I'm gonna go through a little bit of the aiming as requested. I think some people have ordered this or are thinking about it. It took me a few shots to get used to it because the sight picture is very different than anything I've shot yet. But I'm gonna go through a couple of other things aiming wise that are relevant just in running an aiming video on any frame. So the main thing is I think that aiming really has very little to do with your catapult. You can get your body mechanics to respond and work well with any catapult you want, just anything. Anything at all. Anything you can put a band on and figure out how to tie it to it, you can aim it accurately as long as your body mechanics are consistent, like you hear everybody say. I don't hear a whole lot of people go into detail. Chris Graffin, I think, has got one of the best aiming videos that I've watched over and over and over again, just because he's got a lot of clues, but he doesn't go completely in depth with the body mechanics. So that's where my whole deal is I think that once you understand what your body is doing in relation to where your shot's going, everything else you can work with it. So what I mean by that, is where your shoulders are, where your elbow is, where your wrist is. Are you down like this? Are you up like this? Are you sideways? Are you holding with your hand like this, or like this, or like that? Just all kinds of stuff. And if you change it ever so slightly, your shot's going to be moving. And over 10 meters, let's say, it's going to be where you move a centimeter here, it's going to be half an inch to an inch downrange. So, and the more you move, let's say you've compromised a little bit, you dipped a little bit here, and you've raised your elbow up a little bit, and you slanted your body cant a little bit, and your head angle is down and over like that a little bit. All that mathematically is going to work out to you're missing by half a mile down there. So you gotta pay attention to all that. The biggest one for me is my elbow. I like to keep mine like I almost like the archer, like as straight as I possibly can, in a line like this, and with my bands. And I have a high anchor, which this is advantageous for me because it's almost it is a TTF design, but the fork gap is so narrow that I can keep my high anchor, and that's just naturally. When I started shooting, I had my anchor way up here. The bands would come across way up here close to my eye. I've since moved it around trying to figure out what's best for this and that frame, and every time I come back to a high anchor, and that's when I'm hitting the best and most consistent over time. You also add in fatigue, and you'll start gripping the ball different. Like I like that. That's how if I'm using the pouch at all, that's how I hold it. But the tired I get, the more I'll pinch, rolling that knuckle out, which is problems. A lot of people will just what I call gel the ammo, which is just put it in prison, like lock the door. And people, I think Gamekeeper John shoots that way. Just works very well for him. So not knocking it. It just is what it is. Main thing is a lot of people say find what you like and do it over and over again. That's true. That is very true. It took me 2.5 years to figure out what that was. So I tried everything, and I would get stuck somewhere and just not be able to figure out what I was doing wrong. So I'd have to move everything and figure out exactly what natural was for me. So anyways, back to the frame. You got all these cool little isotopes, but they're in crazy positions. So those fork tips are nothing that I've seen before. Now there's you know, obviously 45-degree tips and slot attachments. I don't think that this attachment is any groundbreaking thing. Could be wrong, maybe it is, but I've seen very similar stuff. Uh, that's not what this is about. I don't really care about none of that. This is awesome, and it's opened up uh, a lot for me because the sight picture is just it is different than anything else. So um, basically, you can shoot at TTF like that, and I'm aiming right here, just to the side of that isotope. Um, and then you can can it slightly, not like that, but slightly, and there you have your distances. Isotopes never been my problem. If I'm missing, it's because my body mechanics is getting tired, or I'm tensing up, or I'm nervous, or I'm trying too hard, or whatever. That's always body mechanics to me. So those isotopes don't really help, and honestly, my eyesight's getting bad, and I can't see them at arm's length anyway. So I just have my system that I do, my checklist that I go through on shots. But you wanted to know, that's where I'm aiming. Basically, almost like if I'm shooting frameless. I mean, this is almost exactly to how I shoot frameless. It is through the fork. You're going through the forks on that, but I'm so used to it that I can shoot it exactly like I'd shoot OTT, and not run into any of the sight picture problems that I do with TTF and overanalyzing, overthinking my shots. Yep. I mean, it's just right there, so it feels really good. Yeah. So, anyways, I would suggest that if you are going to buy this, if you're thinking about it, they're pretty cheap on Dankong. I'm not advertising for anybody. Nobody's paid me for this. It's just somebody asked about it, and I love all slingshots. I love all shooters. I love all builders. They all are talking and communicating physiology, the art of physiology, and the art of building materials, all that stuff. It's just a conversation to me. So I don't have a dog in the fight. This for me though is just as fun as it gets. So that's it. I hope that helped at all. Maybe it explains some stuff. Maybe for the newcomers, it just basically spin you around and around. You'll go like, well, what did any of that mean? Man, I don't know. What it all means, get out and shoot, as long as it's fun to you. And that's what it's all about. So we're not all going to win the World Cup. We're not all even going to be very good, but everybody can hit a can, and there's nothing better than that. All right, let's see what we can do. We're at 10 meters. A little quarter-inch. Twisted up bands. One thing I love about it, twisted bands. Doesn't matter. I hit it, but it glazed off the side. There we go. Twisted bands. Oh, about to lose the band. So just bailed me out of trying to make those two harder shots. The downside to this, that's gonna eat your bands up. So you got to pay attention because it will let go at once. Um, Even though I have a high anchor, it hadn't smacked me in the eyeball yet. It's happened before. Uh, where, nah, I'm not gonna say all that arbitrary stuff. Just be careful, okay? Know that that's going, I probably need to take a piece of sandpaper to the side of that. These were made on a CNC machine from a solid sheet of stainless steel, I do believe. So yeah, there you go. All right. Let's get these smaller targets. There we go. There we go. All right, see, not a bad little shooter. Uh, so try one out if you think you might like it. If not, you can do the same thing with any shooter. Just get out and practice and have fun. Summer's coming. Shoot some slingshot.